for educational use only, allowing our pro Dota player, Chief Engineer Manolo Miguel Valenzuela, to use this as educational material. Good day everyone, I am Engineer Kadit Larawan, and today I will walk you through our post-emergency report evaluation. This review is essential to ensure our emergency responses are effective, well documented, and continuously improved for the safety of all crew members and the vessel. Let's talk about post-emergency evaluation. The aim of post-emergency evaluation is to assess the relevance and performance and success of the communication response. It should measure behavioral, organizational, and social change that contribute to ending the emergency as a result of SBCC activities. SBCC means social and behavior change communication. Post-emergency evaluation therefore aim to identify what worked effectively and why, what can be learned and improved, and how likely it was similar emergency can be prevented in the future. Importantly, post-emergency evaluation should also gather information and lessons learned from partners and record these for future use. Perspectives from partners and stakeholders, including affected communities, should be captured. Including affected communities in the evaluation process and sharing the results with them can help the healing process and support communities to rebuild themselves from the aftermath of the emergency. Post-emergency evaluation is likely to take time if carried out properly and can provide valuable insights into how to respond effectively to similar crises in the future. It should be conducted by experienced research and personnel. And results should be shared with all national and international stakeholders to build global capacity to respond effectively to emergencies.
General steps and checkup after emergency repairs. After doing an emergency repair on the ship, we need to check if the system is working safely and properly. First, we do a visual check. We look for leaks, cracks, or unusual movements. We also check if the patch or clamp we used is holding well. Next, we test the system by running it slowly and safely. We observe things like pressure, temperature, and how well the fluid is flowing. Then, we check the tightness of bolts and clamps. We can use soapy water or pressure test to see if there are any leaks. So now we look at how the system is performing. We compare it to how it usually works. If there are any big differences, we take note. We also check if the repair was done following the manual from the equipment maker. We make sure we didn't go beyond safety limits. Lastly, we write everything down. What was repaired, what materials we used, and the results of the test. Then, we report it to the chief engineer in the office on shore. So, checking specific systems. So, lube oil and fuel oil. For the lube oil system, we check if the oil pressure is normal and if there are any leaks from the patched areas. We also make sure the oil temperature is okay. For the fuel system, we check if there's any small leak at the joints or flanges. We also test if fuel pressure and flow are normal and check that no air is getting into that system. Next is the checking of cooling system, so the seawater and freshwater. In the seawater cooling system, we look for leaks, especially where we made temporary seals. We check if the system is cooling properly and if any tubes or lines are blocked or damaged. In the freshwater cooling system, we check if it holds pressure without leaking. We also make sure the engine stays cool and check repaired hoses for signs of damage. Common problems and how to fix them. So, examples. Lube oil. If there's a leak in the flange and pressure is not steady, we tighten the bolts or change the gasket. Fuel oil. If the injector pipe is cracked and leaking, we either weld it or replace the pipe. Seawater cooling. If there's a leak in the tube and flow is low, we isolate the bad part and plan for full maintenance. Fresh water cooling. If a hose is damaged and pressure drops, we replace it with a certified hose. So what to do after the repair? Once we are safely docked, we must replace all the temporary materials like tapes and clamps with proper parts. We must also ask for a full inspection by shoreside staff or a surveyor. We need to restock any spare parts we used. And finally, we write everything in the plant maintenance system or the PMS so we can track it for future reference. So what to include in the report? A report must have the following: the date and time of the problem and repair, what equipment or system was involved, what kind of repair we did, what tools and materials we used, any safety issues, the test results, and any next steps we suggest. So for the conclusion, in short, checking the system after an emergency repair is very important. It helps us stay safe and keep the ship running properly. We must always follow procedures, do safe work, and report everything clearly. That way we avoid problems in the ship's system.